very good to see your handsome face again, sir.
Yeah. It is handsome, isn't it?
And you are so humble too.
Yeah, I know. It's just a great gift of mine, you know? I got to share it with the world.
Welcome back, everybody, to another part of the Wizarding World spin-off campaign, Circle of Fate, the Orion campaign. We have another guest with us today, the one and only... Well, why don't you introduce yourself to us? Tell us who you are, where you're from, what your pronoun is, and all that good stuff.
Hi, guys. I'm Jonathan. I am I'm a dude from Texas. Yeah. In Fort Worth area, that kind of space.
And if people recognize, well, a lot of people sure have been recognized all of the guests, but I have to say that Jonathan's interview was one of my favorites.
Mine too, surprisingly.
Can you remind us which character you played in that interview?
I played Alana Maloney, who was the Scottish-Irish person who annoyed Mikey.
Who was making potions with Kiwi's character. And I'm still waiting, Astra and Skylar, for the animated series of that.
I told them I could do stick figures. They didn't want it for some reason. I don't know.
So I'm really happy to have Jonathan here as we move on to the second to last part of the Orion campaign. This is the second to last, because we only have one more guest after this. So this is actually going to be taking place a few days after the last mission. Christmas is in the air, the holidays. The weather is definitely getting cold. It's been snowing in parts of America, and you guys are actually on your way to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Agent Seif will contact you. I'm going to say that since it's just in Pennsylvania, you guys will probably be driving there. No need to take a plane.
Oh.
Sorry.
We didn't get a nice jet.
The ginger owl is currently sleeping on Vienno's shoulder at the moment. But what is Vienno doing as the owl is sleeping on his shoulder?
I'm just little rubbing him a little bit occasionally. Just getting used to the owl.
Yeah. And Agent Seif will give you guys the report. So I, once again, will just let Jonathan drive. So what does Agent Seif tell them?
Agents, I would like to inform you guys of very close instance of death. Chloe Petrov has been found dead near her home. It's just... Normally, we wouldn't just have one murder, but there seems to be a notable amount of magical occurrences that have been described around the area, magical lights, the like. So we're going to be sending you guys in to investigate. One of her neighbors has been registered as a magical user, so we're going to investigate that first.
That name Petrov sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Michael, you have the report that's sent to you. I don't know if you react in any specific way.
Yeah, he's just gonna do what he did the last mission, kind of like zone everyone out and just be like intently reading specifically Chloe's report.
Yep. Chloe Petrov is a woman, her middle-aged woman. She was survived by 2 children and her husband. It was a very tragic loss for them. She used to go to such and such a high school, which is where you went to. And I'm not sure if there would be any other information other than that.
Right.
Does anyone of the agents, would any of the agents know that this is your hometown? Just out of curiosity.
I don't.
You don't think you would have said anything along those lines?
I don't think he's ever said anything.
Okay. I guess everyone can roll another observe insight other than Michael. Other than Michael, people can roll another observe insight or observes spot.
But I need to know how Michael's feeling.
I got a 14.
11.
Brain 10.
Who got the highest? That was Felix.
Yeah.
Felix, you're gonna notice something off again with Michael as he's reading the report on Chloe Petrov.
All right. Well, I think Felix is going to be the one that's driving right now, so he's gonna look over to him and say, "Michael, you okay?"
Yeah. I knew this person.
Oh, you did?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. She went to my school, high school.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Were you friends?
For a time, yeah. Kind of grew apart once things started happening, but
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'll just leave you to it. And Felix is going to focus back on the road.
They will arrive at the house that was in the report.
what's the house
And
look
what do you
like?
guys do?
Is it like a nicer house or?
Jonathan, go ahead and describe the house.
So the house is one of those ones that almost attempts to look a little bit more old than it is. Maybe it's got a little bit of a Germanish flair to it. It's got white rimming on the house with the green front, and one of those old like Southern style porches up front with like the railing and whitewashed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know about the death?
There seems to be no discernible reason of death. The body was kind of drained of most moisture and very dry and desiccated.
Were there any marks on it?
None discernible.
We have heard of any kind of spells that would do that? Or any kind of magical effect?
Out of character, I'm pretty sure that are probably some desiccation spells or dry spells, so it is possible that magic could have done this, yes.
Is out of character, this is the house where the body was found, or?
The body was found in her house. So there wasn't much proof of anything.
I'm asking if the house we're currently at is where the body was.
No, this is her neighbor's house.
Her neighbor's house.
Gotcha.
Who is suspected to be a member of the Wizarding Society.
Yeah. All right, we might need a cover story for why we're asking about.
I mean, we could send the actual policeman to talk. The actual Muggle policeman who would have a reason to ask questions about murder.
Yeah, but if we approach this from if we want to ask the magical questions, we they may not be forthcoming with a no match.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean,
What is the neighbor's name, Agent Seif?
His name would be Andrew Puka.
All right, I'm going in. If someone wants to come with me, and he
I'll
just
go.
leaves. He
Yeah,
exits the car and starts walking.
Felix falls right after him.
Yeah, Celeste will go too. I don't think there's any point in us splitting up right now.
I will go as well, but I put the owl in the back of the car. I say, Taika, stay here.
Ooh.
Crack the windows a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep it cracked, so it's not.
The owl seems to protest and seems to be insistent on going with you.
Calm down. I'll be back soon.
Roll a handle animal, please.
Oh, great. Let's see. That's a 10 again.
All right, that's okay. So the owl seems to be a bit upset that you're telling it to stay behind, but it will seem to obey you. Okay. So, you guys will approach the house. I will for the most part, let Jonathan take it from here. So, you guys are approaching the house. What happens?
Okay. So you guys are approaching the house. Do you walk straight up to the doorway, or how do you approach the building?
Front door.
Yeah, front door.
Yeah.
You knock on it, ring the
Yes.
doorbell.
Knock on it. Hello.
At this point, the door opens, and you see this very visibly old man. Few age marks on him, wrinkles everywhere, crow's feet in his eyes. Ah, hello. How are you all doing?
Doing well, sir. Are you Mr. Puka?
Yes. Who's that in the back? What? Vienno? Is that you?
Oh, great.
Vienno, we're gonna do a flashback.
Oh, great.
Woo!
Vienno, you are 10 years old.
Oh, great.
You are living. Would you be living in Finland? I'm assuming.
Yes.
10 years old.
Yes, I would.
Okay. So you're living in Finland, and I'm gonna say that in Finland, are you pure blood, half blood? I forgot what you are.
Half-blood. Vienno
Half-blood.
doesn't know he's half-blood, but he would be technically half-blood.
Okay.
Yes.
You do, but you've been familiar with the wizarding world since you were a kid. Would you say?
At that age, maybe just a couple of years. He really
Okay.
has most likely recently learned about magic. At
By
an
that
age.
point, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say you recently learned about the wizarding world, and there's a wizarding village near your house that you sometimes go to, and you've started to go to the wizarding village's library, their public library. And so from time to time at this library, there is story time for the kids there. And so you decided maybe you had heard about it, but maybe while you were looking at books and stuff, you noticed that one of the librarians were saying, "All right, kids, gather around for story time." And I'm gonna say that maybe you're curious. You're like, "Oh, okay, sure, I'll check this out." And there will be an older gentleman there with is this Irish accent? What kind of accent is this?
It's somewhat Irish, a little bit Scottish. It's mostly just Gaelic in general.
Okay, there's older man with a Gaelic accent, and what happens? What does 10-year-old Vienno see?
He would be cautious. He is new to magic, so he's always cautious around. But he's curious about this person and is slowly but carefully going towards them.
Jonathan, what does this old man look like? How is he dressed?
He's dressed in the typical Durmstrang robes at this time, and he's in this old rocking chair that looks like it's about to fall apart just as much as he does. Just looks ancient, and he's just rocking back and forth, and he waits for everybody to calmly sit themselves down to the last person, and seems to make eye contact with every single kid before he even begins, and just kind of draws them in as best he can before he even says a word. So at this point, would I be good to begin my story?
Yeah, is Vienno gonna sit down with the rest of the kids?
Yeah, he would be at the back, yeah, but yes, he would sit down.
Alright, we'll say that Vienno is one of the last people who sits down. And go ahead, Jonathan, what happens?
So, I'd like to let you all know of a story I heard not too long ago, but just enough that I was about your age at the time. There was this man. He was very lonely, but he was very skilled with his gears. He was a known clockmaker, and he was very good at his craft. And one day he was very sad because he could not find a wife. He could not have kids. There was not even an orphan who would give him the time of day. And he was just so crushed by all of this. And he decided, you know, if I can make a clock that chimes precisely on the hour, if I can make clocks worth all this money, I can surely make somebody who'll love me, right? So he puts together these gears, and over months and months and months, he crafts this beautiful boy, perfectly sculpted face, noble features, very kind eyes. It was beautiful, but it was very difficult for him to quite get it right. He couldn't imitate human voices or anything else. One day he found a very strange man in Germany, and he brought his automaton to him. And he's just desperate and asks the man if he can do anything. And the man walks behind the counter, takes the boy with him, and comes back, and the boy is speaking. And so as this boy is speaking, the man is just amazed, and the wizard says, "Sir, I'm going to need you to do one thing for me. I'm going to need you to raise this boy to be an inventor like yourself." And so, as this boy is taken home with the man begins to raise him as his own son. The automaton starts off and it's crawling and it's crying and it's drinking milk. It's very odd, but the man accepts it. And as he raises it, it grows up almost like a child, not in form, but in its mental capacity. And this child was such a joy for this young man. In fact, as he grew older and older in age, the automaton was with him. And one day, things got very bad in the village. You see, there was an odd occurrence, a very odd occurrence. Animals started dying, crops would fail, nothing was working. Nobody knew what was going on. So the automaton decided that he was going to do something about it for the people of the town. So he sets out upon a river, and he tries to get into the river to see if there's any dead animals or anything. Nothing wrong with the river. As he continues along, this boy continues moving, and he goes up, and he goes into the woods, looks at the animals, there's nothing wrong with what they're eating, and he can't figure out what's going on. Comes back to his dad, and he's like, "Dad, there's something wrong with the people, but I don't know what it is." And the father looks at him and goes, "You don't need to worry about what's wrong with the people." But he goes, "I need to, Dad. Dad, I need to see what's wrong with the people." So he sets out again, and he follows the river up a little bit further. And do you know what he saw? Kids, do any of you know what he saw?
Several of the kids are looking around. A lot of them are shy and don't seem to want to say anything. I would probably say that the man looks towards Vienno's direction and looks at him straight in the eye.
Vienno's eyes are sparkling about this. He's really intrigued about this story.
Does he say anything?
No, he doesn't say anything, but he's really intrigued where this is going.
Several of the kids, all the rest of the kids, shake their heads. What happened? We don't know.
He found another metal man, and this man was rusting in the water. He looked at the man, and it was weird. He looked just like himself. He never quite knew where he came from or anything, but he moved him out of the water, and the water continued pure. He came back to his father and goes, "So, is there another metal man?" Father goes, "No, surely not." And he goes, "Are you sure, Dad? Are you even my dad? Was that my dad? What's going on?" He goes, No, son. I promise you." "Well, then where'd I come from, Dad?" "You don't need to worry about that for now." And a year later, "Dad, where did that come from?" "You don't need to worry about that." And this continued year after year after year, until one day, the man finally told him where he had come from, and the boy, distraught, walked into the woods and started crying, and as he cried, he rusted with more and more and more, until he fell into the water. Years later, you could have sworn he heard somebody going, "Another metal man? Like me?" And then he ends his story.
And while he's telling this story, what does he see visually that the storyteller is doing?
So as the story continues along, he would make these light puppets of just neon outlines and he'd hang them from his fingers by magical threads, and he'd shape them. So like the little boy looked just like the Tin Can Man from Wizard of Oz, except for marionette-like, and the man who made the metal boy was so lifelike you'd swear that he could have been an actual person. There's outlines just down to the very creases in his face.
Yeah, what I'm visualizing is that he's moving his hands around and he's forming these neon lights are like drawn in midair to form these neon shadow puppets, I guess. That he's like almost half as if they were made of clay and half just made of pure light to be able to tell these stories. And I'm assuming they move?
Oh yes, they move. They even have lip sync.
Right. They move and animate to show how the story unfolds, scene by scene, and it just completely enamored. All of the kids who are watching are like watching in awe because this is something that they've never seen a storyteller do before.
Yeah, Vienno would be very enamored by this display of magic and lights.
When the story is over, there's a big applause from the kids. Mr. Sir, storyteller, sir?
Yes.
One of the girls asks.
What do you like?
What happens to the boy? Does the father ever find the boy again?
I don't know. At that point, the story ends, but that's what stories are great. Did he find him?
One of the other boys raises his hand.
Yes.
Where did this happen? Maybe we can find the boy and the metal man. Yeah. Where did this happen?
Oh, it happened in Germany, near the Saxony region.
Oh wow. Maybe we can find out and go to Germany.
Maybe.
Vienno is very much intrigued by the idea of finding that metal man.
Several more of the kids might probably ask questions, and then we'll gradually start to leave as parents come to pick them up and take them home or finish whatever they're doing at the library. And eventually, Vienno will find himself. Well, he might linger and stick around, and he will find himself there as the last kid left with this old man, the storyteller, across from him. What happens?
Did you really hear that? Did you really hear that story? Is it true?
I'll tell you, it's about as true as I can prove it to be. Almost lived it myself, I dare say.
Really?
Yeah. I will say it was not me, but it was somebody very close.
I want to find him.
Yeah. You've got a good knack for stories. I could see in the back you were enjoying it more than any of the other kids.
Yeah, I like stories.
Well, you find yourself a good story, and you come back and you better tell me that one day.
Okay. I promise.
Make sure that you write it interesting.
So Vienno, I'm going to say that you might come back to this library on a regular basis, and the storyteller is actually a frequent visitor. And so he probably comes regularly to tell even more stories to all the kids there. And you might have become, I don't know if you call him a friend, but at least you've gotten to know him over the time when you come back to the library. And I think it's probably safe to say that this storyteller might have helped spark your interests in becoming an inventor or a magic item guru in the first place. Maybe.
Very much have at least a high, made it more stronger than before.
Yes. And I'm gonna say, Jonathan, that at some point, for whatever reason, this old man decides that he can't continue doing these story time at this library anymore. And perhaps you tell all the children that this is going to be your last day, this is going to be your last time, and you will have to, And all the kids will be very sad to hear that you're leaving and you're not going to be able to come back for story time. And you'll give this one final story. I don't want you to actually go ahead and tell the full story, but can you give us an idea, a summary of what your final story to the kids are going to be about?
It's this selfish woman who decided that she was going to continue taking things from nature and climbed all the way up to the top of the mountain, taking more and more until she actually became one with the mountain because she took its very essence into herself.
Okay, that's a cool story concept. And all the kids again finish clapping, and many of them are, gonna give their goodbyes and say that they're gonna miss you, and thank you for all of the wonderful stories. And several of them are gonna ask you, Mr. It was Puka, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Puka, can you tell us how you do all the light things? How do you do that?
It's a very old magic. I doubt you'd be able to do it at any time just because it took me my entire life to get here. But I will tell you, it is quite powerful at times. But also it is quite beautiful, I would say.
Is this something we could learn in school? Yeah, maybe we can ask our professors to teach us how to do that.
You'll look hard enough, you'll find a way to do anything. So I encourage you to go look and tell me the story of how you got there.
Okay, Mr. Puka. Well, we'll miss you. Bye.
Goodbye, children.
And they will leave, again leaving Vienno there for the very last time. Does anything happen?
I will say, before he leaves, he definitely tries to make very conscious eye contact with Vienno, and just...
Does Vienno say anything or do anything before this man leaves for good?
I will find you, and I will tell you that's my story.
Can't wait till you do.
Okay, first of all, baby Vienno is adorable. I want Kiwi to draw baby Vienno, please. That'd be so cute. Okay, so that flashback is over, and I'm going to say that memory might have just popped into Vienno's head at that moment as soon as this old man made eye contact with you and said, Vienno, is that you? So...
Mr. Puka?
But Felix looks back and forth and, wait, what?
What?
I'm just an old friend of his. Come on in, I've got something for you. Opens up
Okay,
his door.
he's already going in.
Okay!
More and more coincidences. Well, there's no such thing as coincidence. Never mind.
I'm gonna look at Felix is like, I swear, if we meet someone we know here, I'm going to call shenanigans.
Hey, look, they're a bit. Look, I'm just gonna say, fate is a very weird thing.
Oh, for God's sake! You sound like my divination teachers. Ugh,
Look,
can't talk
Look,
to
when you have the life I have, coincidences and fate are very common occurrences.
I don't want to sound patronizing, but that you are really way too young to be saying that. I'm gonna walk in the door.
Okay, you walk into his house. What do they see?
So,
Jonathan?
as they walk in, they notice him picking up a blanket and a mug from the floor around this rug that's in front of a fireplace that's already warm and lit in this room that just seems to have nothing in it but just chairs around, almost as if it's just a storytelling space. And he kind of walks into the kitchen real quick and then pulls out this tray just covered in hot steaming tea with a few other foods assorted, like little finger foods, like small sandwiches, stuff like that. And he carries that in with him, and he goes, "Sir, well, we gotta hear some stories."
Stories? I'm sorry, what?
Stories.
Yeah, Miss Puka was a storyteller I knew when I was at Finland.
Mr. Puka, we're actually here to discuss a death that happened in the area.
Oh, you talking about her? What was her name?
Chloe
Yeah.
Petrov.
very sad business. I saw her and helped her out that day. Her heart had broken down. Very terrible business.
Do you anything know what may have happened to her?
I haven't the slightest clue.
I'm going to try and insight her.
Yeah, anyone who wants to can try to roll an insight, observe, insight, intuition, whatever.
Vienno's not going to try.
Vienno's not even going to try. It's like, oh, I believe you.
I rolled, but I didn't know.
Okay.
20.
20?
I rolled another double 1, so I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
So did I.
Yeah.
So Michael, at this moment, both Michael and Celeste believe him. And on the other hand, Felix has a feeling that this man is hiding something. He's hiding something. So, but I'm going to say that I'm going to say Celeste probably feels very comfortable with this man right now. Michael probably feels comfortable-ish. Maybe not as much as Celeste. But he at least believes this man when he says he doesn't know anything.
So who'd like to go first? I think that you owe me a story, Vienno. You got one yet?
I've got a lot of different stories. I haven't been able to write them down properly yet.
Oh, story's not in the writing, it's in the telling.
Yeah. Thing is, some of the stories are something that I think I'm not supposed to talk about yet.
Okay. So how about you guys? And have you got any good stories?
Stories. I'm sorry, sir. We're actually here investigating the murder.
Oh, you want my story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
your interactions with the woman.
So, well, I knew her. I've only been here for about a month. I moved in recently. She's been a beautiful neighbor, I have to tell you that much. There's one time, we were walking along, and I was out trying to do my best to keep fit. I keep a good, brisk, slightly slow walk going on days, and well, she was out there running, doing her best to keep fit, like any young lass should. So I tried my best to keep up with her. So she made it to the end of the street well before I did. And from there, let me remember. Was it a dog? Yes, it was a dog. Dog. Oh, it was so. It had gotten out from a fence over. It points like down towards one of the walls. You would assume that'd be down the street somewhere, down at the cul-de-sac. Got out of its enclosure in the backyard and started chasing her. Thankfully, she was able to get to her house quickly enough, but I was really worried. Thought something would happen to her.
Do I believe this?
Does he believe you? Jonathan?
Does the last roll still stand?
I would say so, yeah.
It's definitely thoroughly embellished. It seems like he came up with the dog part.
Felix pulls out a
Storytelling.
notepad. Felix just takes a notepad and starts writing on it.
This storyteller is spinning some sort of story. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Once he's done writing, he's going to tear it out and pass it to Michael.
Oh,
Okay.
It says he's lying.
You just like passed it to him out like in the open. Like, here you go.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Passing notes in class. Come on.
So, what's on that note?
Oh, that's a bit private, sir. I'm sorry. It's a bit of a secret.
It's okay. I won't get mad at you for writing down my story. I know it was really good.
I'm sorry. It was just so captivating.
It is. Yeah, very captivating.
So,
Whatever happened to that dog?
The dog?
Yes.
The dog. Oh, yeah, the owner came out and got it off the front porch and put it properly back into its pen.
Oh, good, good.
Yes.
So, you want a story, right?
Stories are great.
If I give you a story, will you tell me the true story?
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Oh, that was creepy.
Felix
Syntax.
takes a bit correct, and it looks like he's just taking a moment to think of how to. All right. Once upon a time, there was a fortune teller in a small village. The fortune teller would offer his services for a small fee for the village. And he became a bit popular among the village for presenting very accurate predictions. He would tell them of forthcoming weather and plentiful harvests or whatever may come in their future. But not all of his predictions were nice and well. Sometimes he would have to give a prediction, fortunes of misfortune and devastation, of death, and sometimes that would not go over well with other people. Slowly, the village began to mistrust him. Slowly began to distrust him, thinking him a witch who causes calamity. One day, they all gathered around and torched his house, with him still in it. And that's the end of the story.
Well, that's a good story. You got knack for it. Well, then I'll tell you. So you want the day that day? The story?
I want the true story.
Okay. So we'll start at the beginning of the day. So I was on my porch, sipping my tea, and having a nice tasty cinnamon roll that I had bought from the 7-Eleven. And it was delicious, I have to say. So, I watch as she drives out that morning, and I notice there's something not quite with her car. Seemed like one of the axles was slightly off, but it was just barely being held together. I decided, that doesn't look good for her. I think I'm gonna follow her to just make sure that doesn't end poorly. So I drive behind her the whole way, and on the highway, her car breaks down, and I'm thankfully there. I'm not able to fix the car because lifts up his like scrawny little arm. I mean, look at that thing. I couldn't do nothing, but I was able to take her home. It was raining that day, so she got rather wet. So I made sure to wrap the blanket that you saw on the floor and the mug. Served her some hot tea, kept her in front of the fire. Told her a few stories, and then she went on her way home. So that's the story of that day. Do you want to hear a story about another day?
I'm when it's. Do I believe him?
Go ahead and roll a different roll if you'd like.
That would be a 16.
I will let Jonathan gauge. So just to give you an idea, Jonathan, so for your character, if I'm saying hypothetically speaking, if you were lying, if you were giving a half truth, I would say that he would need at least a 15 to notice that something's off. So based on that, he got a 16. What do you think would be his feeling? Would be Jojo's feeling?
It seems like he very particularly picked the starting point.
He very particularly picked the starting point of his story. But it sounds like everything else that he said played out exactly the way it played out. But he was being strategic about how he was telling the story.
Right. Felix just is staring him down. All right then. Excuse me for a moment. I need to go. I need to go check something.
While you're doing that, Vienno, what are you doing during this whole time?
He's a bit confused about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
He's just trying to figure out why are they questioning him? Like he's done something wrong. He really doesn't like to believe that he's done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while he's gone, would you like to hear another story?
Sure.
I'll make sure this one's extra good. So, there was this group of people.
And out of character, Jonathan, when you're telling this story, you're not doing your light thing? Are
He's
you?
starting to do his light thing.
Oh, okay. So he's starting to do his light thing. Go ahead.
There was this group of people, and as he does this, you see like a hologram of like faceless silhouettes appear in his hand, and they were extraordinary from every single walk of life. There was this goblin who made these fantastic weapons. There was this one elf who was just the sneakiest you'd ever find, and this one man who had pride to fight down a mountain itself. And they were on this port city, and in this city, they had just met each other. It was a very interesting event. It seemed as if the gods themselves had put it into motion. So, as they are in the city, the elf meets an old friend from her homeland, and this elf gets tricked and bamboozled, and every last one of her belongings is stolen. At this point, he has a little thing of gold, and he snatches it out of the air, and it just disappears. And they decided to hunt it down. The next morning, whenever she discovered that her belongings were gone, she yelled out his name, "Dieth! I'm gonna get you!" And so she chased him down through the streets of the city, but she couldn't ever really find him. Nobody could. So they hunted him down over the next day, unable to see him anywhere. And he puts out like this maze of a city with like different pathways on it, and like shows like there are different people walking through it, like an entire crowd. And as you look at each individual person, there's just so much detail on any given face. It's insane. And there were all these people, and around this point, you guys feel odd, like something's pulling at your chest. And as they continued looking for this person, just looking and looking, they eventually got to the docks, and they found this slimy little man who is holding a manifest, and they thought, surely he's looking for a boat to get out of here. And at this point, the pulling sensation becomes a little bit stronger on you guys' chests. And also you guys start to feel a bit more dehydrated. You start drinking the tea a little bit more actively. So, as one of them walked straight up and snatched the manifest from the man and walked away, and the man, who was so slimy and he wanted to look through every last record, was too scared.
What is Felix doing when he left? What was he intending on doing?
He was going over to the next door, and he was going to try and divine what happened.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a divination while this is happening in the meantime.
Double sixes.
Nice. Okay. Jonathan, if you continue this story uninterrupted, describe what will happen to the three agents, or what will they look like at the end of it, however you want to.
So as time goes on, the sensation of tugging at their chest gets stronger and stronger, but they become more and more enthralled with the performance as it continues. They begin to get a little bit more and more dehydrated, and then eventually 3 lights will come out of each, one for each person, will come out and begin to join the light show as he's telling the story, and you guys begin to become a little bit less aware of what's going on.
Oh, great.